This video will be going through the analytics capability of Mapipedia. So start by clicking on this analytics tab. Again, if you want more information, you click on the I. But right now, the analytics capability within Mapipedia is very limited. Really, all you can do is load historical data, but we're looking to extend this capability to do things like calculate the distances that animals have moved. We want to add a contact tracing algorithm, so if there's a disease going through your herd and you want to identify which animals are most at risk so that you can prioritize your veterinary resources, we're looking to add that as well. So as of the 25th of April 2021, that functionality does not exist. If you have other ideas for analytics that you'd like added, then reach out to us and we can think about putting those in. And no doubt we'll have a lot of other ideas as well that we want to implement. So to load historical data, so when you load up Mapipedia, it defaults to loading the last 24 hours. So we can see now the current time is 39 past 3 in the afternoon. So the most recent data that we've got is about 7 minutes old. And so about 3:30 on the 25th, and if we go back to the start here, we can see that's just before 4 o'clock on the 24th. So we've got around 24 hours worth of data. But if I want to, say, load up a month's worth of data and look at that historical behavior, then you can select a different start date. So at the moment, it's set on the 1st of April. This is just a standard date picker, so I probably don't need to demo that at all. If you leave the end date optional, if you leave it blank, because it is optional, then it will just grab everything from the start date to the most recent data that it has. If you specify an end date, then it will make sure it sticks to that date range. Now, when you load the data for this date range, it starts by deleting any data that currently has been loaded. So that way there's no overlap or data in there that shouldn't exist. And then it grabs this data from the servers, and it's usually pretty quick. So because it's actually only the 25th of April, it's probably going to get about 3 weeks worth of data, a bit more than that. So if I click on this, you'll see the number of tags has gone to 0 because it's deleted that data. And there we go. So we just loaded up 3 weeks of data. Ignore this data. This is not real data from animals. This is only test data that's being generated by a computer somewhere that Mapipedia does not have any control over. And at different periods of time, there's quite a lot of tags. We can see there's 1,400 here. So at the start of, April, there were a lot of tags, but then towards the end of April, there's only a few tags. There's only about 12 of them. So kind of don't take too much notice of this. But what we've done now, if we look at this range, we can see that we've now got it from, the most recent data that we have on the 25th to, 1858 on the 1st of April, which was the date and time that we selected here. And if you want, you can play an animation. So if we were to make this, say, 240 seconds and press play, then we can see how these animals have moved over a 3-week period in a 240-second animation. And if we go to the end and we click on the show path, we can see all the areas of land that these animals or these tags have traversed in that 3-week period. Now here it's not terribly useful. It's just all a big blob of black, but you can see quite clearly that it's not using a lot of this woodstock zone. You can see where they've definitely been. Some more analytics capability that we'll probably add will be to add like heat maps, so you can actually see which areas of land are being used more than others, rather than just coloring it all in black. And then if you want to go back to the original arrangement with just the last 24 hours worth of data, you would delete this data. That completely clears it all out, so there's no tags loaded at all. And then when you click on this refresh Ceres Tag data checkbox, that gets the last 24 hours worth of data, and then it will keep updating every 600 seconds unless you turn it off. And you can also export these detailed movements as well. So in other tutorials, we've looked at exporting the master data and also exporting data for selected tags. There's currently no selected tags. So just very quickly, if you do select a tag using a filter or manually, then so now we've got 2 tags selected. Then when you download, you can say, let's just get this data for those 2 tags. But for now, we'll just go with all tags. But something that hasn't been spoken about before in any of the tutorials is this detailed history of GPS movements. So if I select that, and then you do need to be careful what you do with this data. You can't pass it on to just anyone. It can only be used internally. This is a restriction that's imposed by Ceres Tag, not by Mapipedia. So all the software providers have got this same restriction. You can pass it on to emergency services like police, especially if the animals have been stolen, but certainly not to other sort of commercial third parties. If you do want to do that, you need to get approval. So if we click on this, we can get the detailed history of all the GPS movements. So in this case, we've got 12 tags, and we've got about 24 hours worth of data. So if I click on that, that will download this CSV file. And then if we expand this out, so this is only the tag data now. We haven't got any of the master data in here. If you want the master data, use the other option. So what we've got here is we've got the Ceres Tag ID, and we can see this appears quite a few times now because in the last 24 hours we've had a few snapshots of data. This date and time is in UTC format. It's not the local date and time. And then we've got the latitude, longitude positions of each of those, and also the location accuracy. This references how accurate the GPS reading is. So sometimes it can be less than 5 meters, sometimes it can have a worse accuracy. So these numbers represent those. And then there's the activity, which is a measure of how much the accelerometer on the tag itself is being moved. And these numbers can be used to determine if the animal is, say, stressed, or if it's in a normal kind of activity, or potentially if it's a lower activity, so the animal might be sick, or if it's not moving at all, the tag might have fallen off, or the animal could be dead. And that's probably the main thing I wanted to talk about with the analytics capability. But yeah, if you do have any questions, get in contact. And if you have any other ideas for other analytics that you want added, then let us know. Oh, one more type of analytics that we'll probably put in as well is we'll do some analytics around some of these points of interest. So you could potentially do things like how often have animals spent time within this water point of interest within 100 meters, and you could get some calculations around those sorts of things as well. But there's lots and lots of different types of analytics ideas, no doubt. So don't hesitate to share them if you've got them. Thanks.